The biggest takeaway from the George Russell Mercedes announcement should be that I think 2026 is going to be his last year with the team. From how the situation has gone on and how ultimately we are looking at the reporting, it seems that George Russell has been given a multi-year contract which goes into 2027. However, the nature of it has not been made public and no one knows. Ideally, if it was a 2-year contract or there was a breakout clause in it, Mercedes would have probably announced that George Russell has been signed for a multi-year deal. However, it is clear that Mercedes is quite explicit where it has said that both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli will be driving for 2026. So, in essence, the nature of the contract is 1+1. Now, once that is clear, I think it's safe to say that beyond 2026, I don't see George Russell driving for Mercedes. First of all, because of the mental toll it has taken on him, as he has spent the entire season looking over his shoulder for pretty much Max Verstappen's shadow, who would maybe end up replacing him. In 2026, I see just two scenarios that could potentially be there. The first scenario is Mercedes nail the regulations. They have the fastest car, they have the best power unit. In that case, we are looking at a scenario where Mercedes is probably going to win the championship. It's going to be between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Looking at the current form, I'd say George Russell is the favorite. However, even if George Russell is the favorite and he ends up winning the championship, the fact that Mercedes has a fast car, it's going to pique Max Verstappen's interest, and I will not be surprised if Toto Wolff, even though George Russell ends up winning the championship, ends up replacing George with Max Verstappen. And I think this is something that even George Russell would be aware of by now, and almost everyone. It is pretty much an open secret that Toto has been trying to bring Max to the team, and if they have the best possible car, Max doesn't have any reason not to make the jump. There is, however, the other scenario as well, and the other scenario is, for some reason, Mercedes is unable to build the best possible car, and maybe the power unit is off. Maybe for some reason the power unit is great, but the car is not up to the mark. In that scenario, Mercedes might not be the most attractive option for a Max Verstappen. However, at the same time, in that scenario, George Russell is not going to stick it out with Mercedes anymore. The way he's been treated this season, it's not ideal for any driver who has performed at the level that he has. And I think if the Mercedes is not in the best possible shape, George leaves Mercedes and moves on to a team with a better prospect or just a different environment where he's basically respected and valued the way he should be. So yeah, in either scenarios, if Mercedes nail the regulations, Max Verstappen is coming and George is out. And in the other scenario where Mercedes does not nail the regulations, George is leaving anyway.